Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. I have a new story to share with you, and I'm excited to dive in. My girlfriend Sarah, who is 29 years old, and I, a 28-year-old guy, have been in a loving relationship for 5 wonderful years. To celebrate our anniversary, I meticulously planned a vacation for just the two of us. My vision was to spend quality time together enjoying skiing, snowboarding, and other winter activities in beautiful Colorado. I had been eagerly looking forward to this trip for months because I also intended to propose to her at the end of our getaway, making it a truly memorable occasion. However, just 5 days before we were set to leave, Sarah surprised me by inviting 2 of her friends to join us on the trip. I felt blindsided and quite upset because I had envisioned this vacation as a special time for the two of us to connect. To me, it was clear that this trip was meant to celebrate our anniversary and deepen our bond, not turn into a group outing. I voiced my concerns to Sarah, but she firmly insisted that her friends had already made plans and wouldn't be able to back out. Reluctantly, I accepted the situation, thinking we could still find ways to adjust our plans and carve out some private moments for my proposal. In hindsight, I wish I had stood my ground more. As the days went by, it felt like Sarah was prioritizing her friends over me, and we struggled to find any alone time amidst the group activities. After 3 days of feeling like a second choice, I made the difficult decision to leave the trip early and head home. I explained my reasons to Sarah, and she was understandably upset. When she shared my decision with her friends, I suddenly found myself being ganged up on by them. They argued that we were all having a great time and implied that I was being unreasonable. Sarah thinks I'm being a jerk for making her choose between her friends and me, even though they hadn't been part of the original plan. I've never had personal issues with her friends before this trip, and I've always respected the need for friendships outside of our relationship. Now that I'm back home, I find myself reflecting on everything that happened and trying to sort through my feelings that I have a day to myself before Sarah comes home, so at least I can take some time to relax and gather my thoughts. Sarah and her friends seem to think I'm overreacting and that I ruined the trip, but I feel quite the opposite. To me, Sarah's decision to invite her friends completely undermined the purpose of our vacation, which was meant to be an intimate celebration of our relationship. I found it disrespectful and rude that she prioritized her friends over the romantic plans I had carefully crafted for us. Now I'm left wondering if I was the jerk for leaving a vacation that I had specifically planned for my girlfriend after her friends decided to join us. To clarify, this was intended to be a special anniversary trip, and the nature of it was quite clear. We've gone on other anniversary trips in the past, and those have always been just the two of us. We've even discussed marriage before, so it's not like a proposal would have come out of nowhere. For some context, we talked about our future together after 2 years of dating. 3 years ago, we were both excited about getting married and traveling together. We moved in together about a year and a half ago because we both believe that living together is essential to understanding each other's lifestyles and compatibility before taking the next step. Given this was a planned anniversary and romantic getaway, I was upfront with Sarah about not wanting her friends to join us. I expressed my reasons clearly and was direct about my feelings. I didn't mention the proposal to her friends because I wanted it to be a special moment between Sarah and me. We had both agreed that we didn't want a big proposal, so it wouldn't have been a complete surprise to her if I had shared my intentions. Perhaps I made a mistake by not telling her friends about my plans sooner, but my hope was to create a private and intimate moment just for us that I finally worked up the courage to ask Sarah to marry me. But now I find myself wishing I had reached out to her friends privately to explain my reasons for not wanting them to join us on this trip. In hindsight, that might have been a mistake on my part. Still, they had to know this was meant to be an anniversary and romantic getaway. I often wonder how much Sarah shares with them. I hope she doesn't reveal every detail about our relationship, especially not my personal secrets. I really wish there was a better balance between my time with her friends and my time with her during the trip. From my perspective, about half of the activities involved all 4 of us, while the other half were just the 3 of them. I could have followed them around, but that would have made for a pretty uncomfortable and unenjoyable situation. It's not that I dislike her friends, it's just that I don't want to spend all my free time with them. I've never demanded or expected Sarah to choose me over her friends, as that would be unhealthy and unreasonable. However, I can't help but remember that she has cancelled plans with me in the past in favor of her friends, which has left me feeling sidelined when it comes to disagreements between us. We usually handle them ourselves, about 98% of the time, without involving her friends. In the rare cases where she has involved them, it hasn't been productive. I can't shake the thought that perhaps she invited her friends because she's feeling uncertain about the proposal. I get having cold feet, but the least she could have done was communicate that with me. I really hope that in the future, we can have open discussions about important decisions without her feeling too hesitant to talk to me like an adult. I'd hate for her to backtrack on something significant later on. Ultimately, I can't force her to marry me. That decision has to come from both of us. That I just wish Sarah would open up and talk to me about any fears she might have. Now that I'm home, having this alone time is crucial for me to gather my thoughts and sort through my emotions. I didn't want to risk blowing up at her on the way home. So far, she has tried to call me twice, but I rejected her calls. The only thing I mentioned before I left was that we would have a serious conversation when she returned. I truly believe these kinds of discussions are best held in person. As I reflect, I'm starting to think I deserve better. I guess we'll find out what happens when she comes home tomorrow. Minor update: my friends are here with me, providing some much needed support and running interference just in case her friends try to bombard me. They've been fantastic, and I'm really grateful to have them around. Minor update number 2, none of Sarah's friends came by the house or harassed me yesterday or last night, which is a relief. Sarah hasn't come home yet, but I've figured out what I want to say to her and have written everything down. As for the question of whether I'm the jerk for leaving a vacation I planned for my girlfriend after her friends came along, I've come to a decision. I've decided to end this entire relationship. I packed my important belongings, my passport, clothes, and other essentials, and arranged to crash at my best friend's apartment until I can find my own place. In relationships, I've learned that small issues often tie into larger underlying problems. The main reason for my breakup is the realization that her friends will always take precedence over me. Sarah has consistently favored her friends over our plans more than once, and I've been lying to myself for years, hoping she would change. But this trip really opened my eyes to the fact that I would always be in third place in her life. I've expressed my feelings multiple times, and while Sarah promised she would change, she hasn't. When she finally came home late yesterday, I told her that I have a lot to get off my chest and that I want to get through my notes before she talks or tries to interrupt me. The first question I asked Sarah when we finally sat down was how she thought the trip went. She responded that we all had fun and that it was a memorable experience. But honestly, I shouldn't have to feel like a third wheel in my own relationship, especially on a trip I planned specifically for us. My next question was, why did you invite your friends in the first place? You knew this was an anniversary trip for us. She explained that she had been talking about the trip with her friends since the beginning and that they had never been to Colorado. She thought it would be a good idea to let them join us so they could have some fun in Colorado, too. I followed up by expressing my frustration about not knowing her friends were coming along until just days before the trip. It's one thing if they had joined us and done their own activities, but it felt like every single activity turned into a group event that I signed up for a monogamous relationship, not a poly one. Then, I asked her, did you know that I was going to propose to you? Sarah said she had no idea, the thought never even crossed her mind. She claimed that if she had known, she wouldn't have invited her friends along. I pointed out that revealing my intentions would have ruined the surprise. In the heat of the moment, she begged me to stay and insisted that we could work everything out. She didn't want to throw away 5 years together over one bad trip. I listened to her promises to change regarding her friends for years, but nothing ever happened. Ultimately, I had to tell Sarah, it's clear that there isn't enough room in your heart for both your boyfriend and your friends. As much as I love her, I can't remain in a relationship where I don't feel respected or valued. I left Sarah in the house by herself and drove off to my friend's place. Now, I need to figure out how to get my name off the lease and plan for collecting the rest of my belongings. As for the engagement ring, I'll return it this weekend. Part of the reason Sarah stayed back was that I expressed my desire to go home alone and think things through. I know couples shouldn't storm off after a fight, but in this case, it felt essential to have some space to gather my thoughts. She didn't even ask me if I was still planning to propose. Instead, she seemed upset when she found out I was about to. The fairy tale side of me wishes things could have magically gotten better, but I realized that while some issues can be resolved, I hadn't seen any genuine effort from Sarah to fix things that I told her I'd text her when I was ready to collect my things, but I've blocked her for now. I believe strongly that people shouldn't place their friends above their long-term partners. It's absolutely possible to have both, but the love and attention between friends and a partner need to be balanced. It would have been unfair for me to force her to choose between me and her friends, as everyone deserves friendships outside of romantic relationships. However, neglecting the partner is simply not acceptable. At this point, I'd rather be single and happy than remain in a relationship where I don't feel respected or loved. I've noticed that many people in the comments section and in my private messages have urged me to give this relationship another chance, citing the years we've spent together and our mutual desire to get married. But I've come to realize that those years don't justify staying in a situation that makes me unhappy. That I feel like many people are falling into the sunk cost fallacy, and it's often driven by a fear of being single. They tend to tolerate partners who don't fully respect or love them, holding on to the hope that things will change someday. It's like they're waiting indefinitely for their dreams to come true, when in reality, more people should learn how to embrace being single. If I find someone I truly love when I'm 60 and choose to get married at that age, then so be it. Final update. Hello everyone. I successfully retrieved my belongings from the house this past weekend, and thankfully, I didn't have too much stuff or any heavy items to deal with. Sarah and I had a long conversation about our relationship and what happened during the trip. She mentioned that she plans to see a therapist and wants to become a better girlfriend in the future. While I'm not opposed to the idea of getting back together years down the line, I have zero intention of being one of those couples who are constantly on and off. If life brings us back together, then so be it. I believe that couples who do reconnect need to spend significant time apart to truly grow and change as individuals. That I didn't make any promises to Sarah about the possibility of us getting back together because it's crucial that she works on herself for her own sake, not just for me. Thanks for following my journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.